So this right here is about understanding HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? So basically, in this video, what you're going to get is that you're going to understand HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So right here, I have a counter app, right? So I'm going to be explaining what this thing is all about, right? I'm sure you've seen this all over everywhere in YouTube, building a counter app and all, but I actually want to break this down for beginners, how HTML actually works, how CSS work, and how JavaScript works. So stay tuned. All right, so I actually have a demo here. I have a notepad here, which I'm going to be using to explain things, right? All right, so we have something called HTML. So what HTML does is it is the structure of the web page, right? So it gives us things like headings, buttons, paragraph, section, and the rest like that. So if you go to sites like Amazon, for an example, you go to sites like Tesla, you can see even on Google Self, all these things here are text, sections. If I click on Amazon right here, you can see we have inputs, we have headings, we have this and that. So all those things are just HTML structuring the page for us, right? So we have, you can see also we have things like buttons and sections. So you can see right here, this stuff here is a button. So this is HTML. This is also a button. This part here is a paragraph, right? So that is all about HTML. It's helps us to do what structure the page. So we have something called the CSS, which is to design for the web page, right? So it actually controls things like colors, spacing, layout, button styles, font, and overall beauty. So basically, after you've structured with your HTML code, right, you want to add CSS to it, right, to make it more beautiful. As you can see, CSS was added to Amazon website. So you can see Amazon website is a very big website, right? So without CSS, it's not going to be looking too flashy like that, right? All right. So we have the JavaScript, right? So this JavaScript here is the brain or behavior of the web page, right? So it makes things happen when user clicks, types, scroll, or even what interact. So see JavaScript as a behavior of a web page. For an example, if I call straight to Amazon right and see Amazon, you guys can actually shop from Amazon. You can also have it delivered into Nigeria. So if I should scroll down here for an example now, you can see scrolling down here, so you can see this is JavaScript, it's scrolling here, and these are actually nice items. You can get it delivered to your doorstep all the way from outside the country if you are in Nigeria, right? All right, so right here, I've actually explained what JavaScript is the brain or behavior of a web page, right? So I'm going to explain three technologies we're using. So we're using the HTML, we're using the CSS, which is for style, we're using the JavaScript, which is for what? Functionality. So these are the three technologies that we're going to be using, and I'm going to explain it in this counter app. So right here, I have a heading, as you can see right here. I have a paragraph right here, and I have button. So this button here is HTML. This reset button here is HTML. But the reason why they are not working is basically because of I have not added JavaScript, which is JavaScript is the brain or behavior of that web page. That's the reason why if I click on increase, it doesn't actually does what increase. So let me show you the code base right now. All right, so I've actually commented a lot of things, right, to explain this thing from the scratch to top so you guys can actually understand for beginners. So the first thing I'm doing right here is, you can see I'm saying this is the doc type, right? So this actually tells the browser that we're using HTML5, which is the latest. And by the way, let me just create another new HTML here. I'm going to call this tube.html. So you can basically see that I'm creating an HTML file here that I'm going to be running on the web page. Also, I have things like heads, the heads tag, right? I have things like the title. You can see this is it, CodeBreak episode 1 counter app. If I should come straight here, you can see this CodeBreak episode 1 counter app, right? So HTML is basically what the structure. So, but before I actually start using this part here, I'm going to try and explain what CSS is. So let's say for an example now, I come straight here and I remove this part here for an example. If I should come back to my web page here, see, it becomes ugly. right? It's ugly because of we did not add CSS to it. Like we did not add styling to it. That's the reason why. And there are different ways you can actually add styling to your website or to your web app, right? We have inline styling, we have external styling. We even have frameworks like Boomer, Bootstrap, Tailwind, and the rest like that. So, well, basically, I removed the styling, so that is what is actually what's ugly, right? So CSS actually helps you add styling to make your website look so much cooler. If you want to know more about CSS, you can go to sites like JavaScript Media or CSS Ninja. They actually break down what CSS is. All right, so let's actually continue here in the video. So basically right now you can see I commented it. I'm going to bring it back. So if I bring it back now and I actually do a refresh here, you can see it comes back. Why? Because of what we added CSS to it. All right, so in this tube.html here, if I want to start my structuring of my page, I'm going to do what? HTML. That means I'm sure you have your VS Code actually open. I'm going to say HTML 5. You can see if I click on it, it gives me this structure right here. It actually means I can now start developing my web page structure. That's what it means. So what I'm going to do right now is that I'm going to open this on the web page. I'm going to come here, come and paste it like this. I'm going to change this thing to tube.html. So you can see it's blank, right? And you can see we have the title called what? Document, right here. So let me come back here. So you can see we have the title called document. I can change this document here to nothing. But I should come back here, do a simple refresh. You can see we changed to what? Nothing. So HTML is actually the structure of your web page, right? So let me just do a simple paragraph or a simple heading. So I can just do a container like a div. I just do h1. So this right here is a div. Div is like a container, right? It's actually what? A container, right? And since it is a container, and inside of the container, I have a heading, right? That actually makes something very, very, very what? Big enough, right? So basically, all right. So right here, I have my h1 tag. So I can do something like heading. I can say, this is my heading here, like this. If I should come back straight here and I do a simple refresh, you can see this is my heading. So this is what actually happens in HTML, right? So I can have something like another stuff here. I can say paragraph. You can see this is P. I can say lorem. So if I come straight here and let's refresh, you can see like that. I can have another button. I can have a button. I can say save. I can have another button. I can say next. I can have another button. I can say welcome. I can say welcome. Yeah. And also I can have another container again, and I can do a form. You can see a form. I can say inputs. I can say label. I'll say username. I'll do inputs here. I'll do a break. So I'll just do a copy and paste again. I'll come and paste it down here. Password. So if I actually now go back to the web page here and I do a refresh, you can see it's working. So HTML is actually helping me do what? Structure my web page. So if you want to know more about CSS, you can, like I said, you can go to popular sites like JavaScript Media, Code with Mosh, and the rest like that, right? Or you can actually stick to my own YouTube channel and learn it from me. All right, so let's actually proceed. So this is the HTML here, right here, right? So it's the structure, right? So you can see it's a structure. So we can keep adding CSS to it to actually make this site look more better. We can add CSS to make the site look extremely more better and the rest like that. All right, so let's actually go back to this. So the basically mission of this video is to actually tell you that, okay, to explain what JavaScript does. JavaScript it actually makes our site behave the way we want it to behave. So meaning that when we click on this increase button, something should happen, right? So down here in my code here, I have commented out my JavaScript, which is here. I am going to uncomment it here. Let me uncomment it properly. All right. Come down here. Okay, good. All right, so I've actually uncommented my JavaScript, and if I should do a simple refresh and I click on this, you can see it moves up. So the reason why it's moving up is basically because of I've added JavaScript to my HTML functionality. That's the reason why. Don't worry, in another video, I'll be explaining something called the DOM, right? So stay with me. So right here, I have my buttons. So see this div here. This div is like a container. So I have my button here called decrease. As you can see, it's on the web page. I have another one called reset. I have another one called increase. So inside of this increase, I have functionalities inside the HTML called on click here and here. And it's actually equals to a particular function in JavaScript called what? Decrease count. So like I said, this button decreased the number when clicked, right? So on click equals to decrease count calls decrement count function in JavaScript. So this decrease count here is a function in JavaScript, like a function used to perform a task, right? So we have the reset count here also. We have the increase count here also. So all of these three stuff here are all functions in JavaScript right here, which are this. You can see we have the increase count, so we have something called a function. Don't worry, in another episode I'll be explaining what function is. So what is a function? Function is used to return a task, right? So this function here, I said what? This function runs when the increase button is clicked. It actually means that when they click on this increase button, it calls this function called what? Increase count, right? And also I'm going to need to explain what variable is. So variable is like setting something, right? So we create a variable called count. And we have these things like the let, the const, and the var. But in JavaScript, we use just let and const. So we have something called let, which is you want to start defining a variable. And the variable name here is called count, meaning that it's equals to 0, meaning that this count variable will either increase or either what? Decrease, depending on how we click on either increase, decrease, or reset. So in those three things, they all have each of their functions, right? So their function, the first function here is what? Is the increase count here. So as you can see, I increased it here, right? So I'm doing count plus plus, which means that I would add 1 to the current value, right? And I'm doing something called what? Content count display dot what? Text content equals to count. Let me explain this part for you guys. So remember that I actually created a variable called count. And after that, I had to go inside the HTML here through JavaScript and go and look for something called count up here, which is here. See, this ID called count. Don't worry, in another episode, I'm going to explain what the DOM is, how to connect your HTML to your JavaScript. But basically, in this video, I'm just explaining what JavaScript can do, which is to add behavior, interactivity into your what? Into your website. So after that has been done, we have another function called what? Decrease count, which actually does what you can see. We have minus minus, which subtracts 1 from it. Then we have the last function here, which is what? Reset count. So this reset count just makes it what? Is 0, right? So one thing you need to take away from this video is how you can actually use JavaScript to connect your HTML, right? So basically, you can see I have something called what? Document.getElements by ID. So inside of it, I have something called count. This count here is something, it has an ID here. Let's say, for example, I say counting. And I do a refresh here. You can see, I click on increase. It's not going to work. Why? Because of what? In my JavaScript, I did not target it properly. I said count. And there is nothing called count inside my HTML tag here. From the body, there's nothing called count here inside my body here at all. So what I know that I want to use is something called what? Counting. So I can go back to my HTML, into my JavaScript and say counting. If I come back here, do a refresh, if I click here, you can see it's moving up. If I come here, it moves down. Why? Because of what? I actually targeted it here, called what? Count display equals to document.getElement counting. Then I'm using JavaScript to target an element inside my HTML block. So that is all about this video, right? So HTML is used to do what? Is the structure of your web page. CSS is to design it. JavaScript is to add behavior, interactivity into your web page. So if you actually like this video, please leave a subscribe. And I'll make sure I'll be making another video explaining how you can actually connect JavaScript to your HTML site. Thank you very much.